Emika's nightmare began in the most unexpected way. He had always been the center of attention. He was known in town for his charm, wealth, and the way women threw themselves at him. No one could resist his dazzling smile, his well-tailored suits, and his confident swagger. Emeka didn't believe in love. He believed in pleasure, in chasing women, and in the power. He won over the hearts of many women. It was like touch and follow magic. He had conquered many. He was chronic unrepented womanizer. No woman could resist him until he met Kioma. But Emeka's recklessness had a price. It started as an innocent discomfort, a slight tingling when he urinated. He dismissed it at first, thinking it was one of the infections he usually gets from sleeping around. He even took his normal steed antibiotic. But as the days passed, the sensation grew stronger. It wasn't just a tingle anymore. It was a burning, painful, unbearable sensation. One night, while standing in front of the toilet trying to pee, Emeka felt an excruciating pain shoot through his bladder and penis as he tried to pee. He groaned in pain, his vision blurring from the intensity of the pain. And then, as he looked down to see what was happening, his heart stopped. The water in the toilet was crawling with maggots. Tiny white wriggling creatures were coming out from his majestic manhood, following the flow of his urine. Panic seized him. He stepped back, backing away in disbelief. This cannot be real. Maggots? Inside my body? How? He was in absolute shock. He stumbled out of the bathroom, his hands shaking. The maggots continued to crawl everywhere in the toilet, an image that would haunt him for months. He reached for his phone with trembling fingers and dialed the number of his doctor. Emeka arrived at the hospital, still feeling the crawling sensation in his private area. His personal doctor was waiting at the reception for him. "What were you saying on the phone about maggot?" Dr. Ojo asked. I have maggots in my pee," he responded, his voice trembling. The doctor tried to remain calm and led him to the examination room for more testing. The nurse came in and gave him a small cup to pee in so they can test his urine. As Emeka unzipped his trouser to pee, a shocking sight to behold. The maggots were all over his private area, in the pants, and they had crawled out everywhere. He shouted in disbelief. The nurse and doctor ran back into the room. They could not believe their eyes. Dr. Ojo and the nurse froze as Emeka was screaming in disbelief. "Calm down, Emeka. We will get to the bottom of this." The doctor summoned up courage to comfort Emeka. Dr. Ojo ordered for a scan. As he turned on the ultrasound machine to scan his bladder, he shouted in shock. The nurse who was watching the ultrasound screen turned to the side and threw up violently. Emeka jumped up to see what was going on. "What is it again, doctor?" Emeka cried. "Emeka, your bladder is filled with maggots mixed with urine." Emeka could not believe his ears. He looked at the screen hoping this was all a dream, but what he saw slammed him back to the bed. Thousands of tiny white maggots swirling and swimming around in his bladder. He fainted. This was beyond what Dr. Ojo bargained for. "We have to transfer him to a specialist hospital," Dr. Ojo said. He made some calls to a doctor that deals with rare cases, and they were willing to accept Emeka. Dr. Ojo gave him painkiller to help him cope with the pain and transferred him to a specialist hospital. At the specialist hospital, the doctors began to ask a lot of questions, trying to know the cause of the problem. "Emeka, I'm Dr. Nike," the doctor began, her voice gentle but firm. She took a seat across from Emeka, studying him closely. "How are you feeling today?" Emeka, still suffering from the pain, sensation, and confusion, barely looked at the doctor. I don't know what's happening to me," he muttered, his voice cracking. "I just want it to stop. Tell us what happened before you noticed the problem." Emeka was ashamed about all his escapades with women. He told the doctor how he slept with a different woman every day and could not remember which one could have caused the problem. He has had multiple STDs as usual, but nothing like this. But this one started after a night with a woman, he admitted reluctantly. "But I don't know if she is connected to this." As he narrated his escapades with women, Dr. Nike tried to hide her disgust for Emeka's actions. The doctors did an ultrasound scan and witnessed the maggot infestation in his bladder. Dr. Nike's face darkened. She had heard of rare cases like this before. parasitic infestations, but never one as bizarre and severe as Amika's. Maggots in your bladder? She repeated. This is incredibly unusual. I want to do a procedure to drain the maggot out of your bladder. We will drain the maggot out and give you antibiotics and you will be fine, they told him. But after that procedure, a day later, more maggots generated in his bladder again. The doctors repeated the surgery, but the maggots didn't stop. They kept appearing, each time more serious, each time more terrifying. It was as if something inside him was alive, feeding off his insides. Finally, after weeks of painful treatments and more failed procedures, Dr. Nike suggested something that sent a chill through Emeka's spine. Emeka, we've done all the tests we can. We've ruled out any common infections or diseases. This is something no one has seen before. The maggots are living inside you, and we don't know how to get rid of them. The doctor's voice was calm, but Emeka could see the fear in her eyes. No one had the answers. The horror of the situation started to sink in. His perfect world had crumbled. He had never believed in consequences before. But now this was his reality. You need to find the last woman you slept with. It was a strange suggestion, one that Emeka couldn't quite comprehend. But the more the doctor spoke, the more he realized that this was the only possible solution. The maggots, this strange, horrific disease, seemed to be linked to the woman he slept with last, and that woman was Kioma. Kioma's life had been shaped by a lot of heartbreak. She had seen men come and go, promising her love and loyalty only to betray her. Her past was filled with scars. Men had used her, beaten her, discarded her, and left her broken. She had been through a lot and she was tired of it. When she met Emeka, she thought he would be different. But Emeka was a man that loved power and control. He would seduce a woman, take her to his bed, and once she was in love with him, he would toss her aside without a second thought. And for years he had lived without consequence. Emeka, with his charm and arrogance, had done just that. He had convinced Kioma that he was different, the one to finally show her real love. She was wrong. Kioma was hard to get, but Emeka saw it as a game. He pursued her relentlessly, bought her so many expensive gifts, and acted like a perfect boyfriend until he slept with her. By the following morning after sleeping with Kioma, he wasn't picking her calls or calling her anymore. Kioma tried reaching Emeka, but Emeka was not responding. She felt used and rejected. Again, then decided to do something about it. She has sworn that no man was going to use and dump her ever again. Kioma went on a revenge plan. He met one Babu who gave her an oil to put inside her private part before sleeping with the man. She was ready for Emeka. Since Emeka won't come to her, she went to him. She dressed up and showed up in his home. She looked so inviting, and Emeka could not resist the urge to sleep with her. So he took her to the bedroom and enjoyed himself. While Kioma laid there quietly, she knew what was about to happen after. Kioma quietly put her clothes back on, and as she was walking out of Emeka's house, she looked at him and said, "Emeka, I am your final bus stop. You think you can use me and dump me? By the time I'm done with you, you will know what it means to be discarded and worthless." Emeka responded, "I'm not interested in anything serious. You are just another woman who got attached. Get over it." Kioma quietly walked out. And now Emeka is laying in the hospital, his bladder filled with maggots. He needed answers. He needed to talk to Kioma. He called her a lot of times and even texted, but Kioma did not respond. She knew exactly what he wanted and she didn't care. Emeka begged her, pleaded for her to help him, but Kioma remained silent. Emeka called his family members to beg Kioma on his behalf. A few days later, Kioma called him back. "Oh, so now you need me." Kioma's voice was sharp, filled with bitterness. "After everything you did to me and all the women you used and dumped." "I'm sorry," Emeka stammered, his voice filled with pain and regret. "I didn't mean to hurt you. I never should have done that. Please, you have to help me. I cannot live like this." Kioma paused. For a moment there was silence on the other end of the line. And then she spoke again, her voice cold as ice. "You think I'm just going to forgive you? You think you can just use me, throw me away, and then call me when you need help? No, Emeka. This is your punishment. You deserve every bit of pain you're feeling right now." She hung up the phone. and Emeka was left alone, his pain became more intense as time went by. No amount of antibiotics and maggot draining procedure helped him. The maggot kept crawling out of his penis and all around his private area. Weeks passed. Emeka's body grew weaker. The pain was excruciating. His friends turned their backs on him. Women who had once fallen at his feet now ignored him. His life was a mockery. He had destroyed his reputation, his health, and his dignity. He had lost everything. As the doctors and nurses struggled to help Emeka, the nurses couldn't help but gossip. "It's Emeka the womanizer," Nurse Ngozi said in a whisper to her colleagues. "I can't believe he's here." The other nurses rolled their eyes. "I always knew he would be in trouble one day. He thought he was untouchable, but look at him now." "He deserves it, you know," Nurse Ngozi said. "He hurt so many women. Now karma is giving him what he deserves." As the days went by, the maggots continued to invade his body. They grew worse. Every time Emeka went to the bathroom, it felt like his body was betraying him. The sensation of maggots squirming inside his bladder, ticking and tingling him, was driving him crazy. He tried not to scream, tried to hold it together, but it was impossible. His family members brought one pastor after another, one herbalist after another, and many concoction, but nothing worked. Weeks passed. He tried calling Kioma again to beg for help. As Kioma picked up her phone, "Kioma, please help me," he begged when she answered. "I don't know what's happening to me. I'm sorry for everything. Please, you have to help. I don't know what else to do," Emeka cried. Kioma was silent for a long time before she spoke again. "I've been watching you suffer, Emeka, and honestly, part of me enjoys seeing you like this. But I won't let you die. Not like this. You need to face your actions. I'll help you, but don't think for a second that this means we're okay. You're going to suffer, and I'm going to make sure you understand exactly what you did to me, to all the other women." Emeka nodded even though he couldn't see her. "I'll do anything. Please help me." Days turned into weeks, and Emeka's desperation grew. His condition only worsened. And then one day, Kioma visited him. She walked into his hospital room. Her presence was calm. She didn't say a word. She simply handed him a drink in a small bottle, something dark and bitter. "Drink this. It will stop the maggots," she said. Emeka, desperate and on the edge of collapse, drank it without question. 2 days later, the maggots stopped. The pain disappeared. It was as though the curse had been lifted. But Emeka knew deep down that the damage was done. He used to think the women were his victim, but now he finally knew that he was Kioma's victim. Kioma had gotten her revenge, and Emeka would never be the same again. The story of Emeka's condition spread throughout the city. His name became subject of ridicule and disgrace. His reputation as the charming, irresistible man who had used and discarded women was shattered. The women who once fought for his attention now avoided him like the plague. His male friends that were once envious of him distanced themselves. He had become the town outcast, the man who had it all and lost it all. He was now the maggot man. When he got home after being discharged from the hospital, he called up all the women he had discarded like trash and apologized to them all. But it was too late. Most had moved on, while others couldn't even bear to listen to him. Kioma, on the other hand, had found peace. She had found justice. And as for Emeka, he was left with nothing but his regret and the knowledge that no woman would ever trust him again. He was badly traumatized by the maggots. He did not want to pee anymore, and each time he had to pee, his heart would beat so hard and fast because he feared that the maggots would come back. This traumatized him for months, and so Emeka's womanizing life came to an end. Not through illness or violence, but through the consequences of his own heartless actions. No woman ever wanted him again. Everywhere he went, people stared and pointed at him, laughing and gossiping behind him. He became a laughingstock of the community. In the end, the man who once thought he could have any woman he wanted learned the hardest lesson of all. You cannot escape the pain you cause others. What do you think about Emeka, Kioma? In this story, let's continue the conversation in the comment section, and don't forget to like and subscribe. Thank you so much for watching. See you in the comment section.